Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo. Thank you for choosing the Magnificent Mongo Slave for all your wrestling information and content. Like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Hey, how y'all doing? Everybody was paying attention to Charlotte, and Charlotte says that she had some leakage from her implants from 2018. It made her sick, and she got sick again earlier this year, which is 2020, and she decided to go and get all this looked at, and it's going to take her a while to come back. And it was real specific and not really all that interesting, but she did mention that she was tired of being body shamed and that she's not ashamed of having fake boobs and stuff. Now, a lot of people that I follow on Twitter, a lot of wrestling journalists or whatever, some of the ones who are not very politically correct, and those are usually the better ones, which is why I try to be that as well, because you can be honest. They are obsessive about Charlotte's fake boobs and her plastic surgery on her face, and they talk about it excessively. And I think they harp on it a little too much. And I think that's like, it's okay to notice it and to bring it to other people's attention, maybe. But I don't think it's good to harp on those sorts of things. I think that, eventually you are kind of shaming at that point. Because, like, yes, we are reaching the point of the world where you can't compliment a woman or criticize her. But I think at the same time, we need to make sure that we're not just not being assholes and just going on and on and on about her fake boobs, or on and on and on about her nose job or whatever the hell she had, and that what we say is actually constructive. And maybe when she retires, she'll undo the boob job. But right now, she's in a waist up business. Sometimes Vince has said it's both a neck up business and a waist up business. And there's video of him saying both of those things. But either way it goes, it's about image, and that's what this video is going to be about. This video is going to be about imaging and fat shaming, quote unquote. So part one is going to be about weight, and this is the most important thing. Now, I think that it's only fair that if we talk about something like this, we have to talk about everybody. Now, again, we've reached a peak society where you can't criticize or compliment a woman, but it's fairly fucking obvious sometimes that a woman is carrying too much weight and it's affecting how she works. The number one example that I saw recently was Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, when she was doing during the later part of her Riot Squad gimmick, she was carrying too much weight. She was out of shape. Okay. Now, when people think that when you criticize somebody and say that they're out of shape or overweight, they think that you're saying like she's some fat porcupine or something like that. No, what we're saying is that she's carrying too much weight for her body, and it's affecting how she works. Asuka is another one. When Asuka was the SmackDown Women's Champion, she had too much body weight. People were showing video, had clips of her as the champion in matches with Becky Lynch and Charlotte, looking fucking awful, okay? Because she had too much body weight. And then Asuka even said it in her own YouTube channel that she carries a little extra body weight because it helps absorb bumps. So she doesn't lose a lot of the weight that she has. So, I mean, it has held her back to some degree. But, that's just a decision that she made, that she likes to have a little extra body weight to fall on. And I can't argue with that. It makes sense. But it's not like the women are getting singled out on this tip, because we know that there's a history of guys like Mark Henry and Big Show and Vader and Yokozuna and those guys, and Bam Bam. Let's take Bam Bam off the list. All the other guys I said, Vader, Yoko, Mark Henry, Big Show, of them being too big. Now you may say, well, those are just big guys. Kevin Owens is just a big guy. It's like, well, yeah, that's true. They are just big guys. Samoa Joe is just a big guy. But just like in the NFL, when you're a linebacker or you're on the offensive line, there is a set weight that you're not supposed to exceed before it affects your work. Okay. And we need to be able to say that to women, like, okay, you're 5'4". There's no reason you should be like 180, 190 pounds. You're like, no, that's just not way. It's just no way. Okay, I doubt that you're going to be able to work efficiently at that weight. Okay, it might be dangerous to put you in the ring with somebody, or we're going to have to keep your matches short. Okay, now this is this topic, this weight situation, falls right into the topic of Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo goes on and on and on about how unhappy she was in NXT and they weren't doing anything with her. And nobody thought to mention, hey, she's gained a lot of weight. Okay. And it's true. I've seen people have posted the before and after. Okay. And I saw even on the episode of Impact, it didn't look like her gear fit. And this is how it was when it was when Liv Morgan was on TV. Her gear didn't fit. She was like her belly was hanging over the gear and stuff like that. He was like, probably not. Like it's not. It doesn't work. And for people to think that, oh, it's just a wrestling thing, it's not. Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he had to do the TV show Cosmos, Fox made him go lose weight. He was already a husky dude. They made him go lose like 20 to 30 pounds just for a TV show. They do that stuff all the time, though. They always, when they hire you to be on TV, they always want you to slim down as much as you can to look presentable for television. It's no different in wrestling when you're walking around in fucking tights. There's no difference. Okay, but again, yes, you're going to get deluged with all the neurosis in the world of what do you want them to do? Starve? They're not fat. They're healthy at all sizes. And look, that's not the point. The point is it can be dangerous for not only the performer, but the performer's opponent if you're out of shape. You could hurt somebody. And this is what I saw with Asuka. She looked so bad in those matches that I was just kind of like, that's dangerous, and she was an actual champion at the time. So if you ever want to know why Charlotte took that title from Asuka, what was it, a couple days before WrestleMania that year, not just to put Charlotte in that match, but it was also because Asuka was out of shape. So, weight is a big thing in WWE. It just is. And probably for the right reason, because it's an athletic sport. It's an athletic endeavor, let's say. If it wouldn't matter if you was doing Cirque du Soleil, it wouldn't matter if you was a ballerina or a dancer. If it affects your work, somebody is going to stand up and say, that's bad for business. You need to get your shit together. And if we're going to create a system where people are, you can't say that. You can't say that somebody is out of shape and overweight, then you're not holding them to the same standards you're holding everybody else to. And you need to hold everybody to the same standards. And it needs to be an exact standard, like, okay, you probably shouldn't exceed X, Y, and Z as far as your weight is concerned. Especially when it comes to height and different things like that. And when Liv Morgan went and lost that weight, she came back, she was so much better. That was actually one of the bigger things that I noticed, is that when she came back, she had lost a lot of weight. It was obvious. It was obvious to anybody with fucking eyes. So I don't understand why it was such a big deal. So number 2, when it comes to usually we're criticizing people, is the boob job or the plastic surgery. So most of the women in WWE, I think, have boob jobs. I'm pretty sure, and we know Charlotte does, and Alexa Bliss has admitted to it. Both of them have. I'm pretty sure Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose have fake boobs and have done all types of other things to their bodies. In my opinion, again, I think I've said this on this channel before, I don't care. I don't care about people having boob jobs. It doesn't, if it makes them feel better, it makes them feel better. Again, you get dumped with neurosis for even asking that question. You get snappy responses. I don't understand why people are obsessive about boob jobs anyway. I think that if it looks weird, like sometimes Dana Brooke looks weird. And maybe that's the point in time when you start questioning how much plastic surgery do you really need to have. And I think Jim Cornette really got into went overboard. I think he called her Miss Piggy or something like that. It was like really offensive. And because, she had a lot of work done. You just know she did. And it just is what it is, as far as boob jobs are concerned. Nose jobs, chin jobs. I know China got her almost her entire fucking face rearranged. I mean, it happens. People have blemishes and things like that they want to get rid of. The Rock even had some kind of chest surgery where he had like extra flab around his chest. He had the mastectomy surgery or whatever the fuck it was called. And he's a man. Again, these things aren't just about women. It's about men too. Sometimes a guy needs to go away and get something done to help help. Like when Chavito, this is in my next piece. My third part was going to be about the hair. And Lacey Evans talking about how she didn't want to get extensions. A lot of wrestling fans complained that the WWE forces all these women to get hair extensions, and then almost immediately they ignore that Lacey Evans is wrestling with her real hair, and she complains that her hair is falling out because of how much it gets pulled on. And she's basically saying, like, I don't want to get hair extensions, but hair extensions is a way of protecting your natural hair when you are involved in something like wrestling, and a lot of fans, they get real defensive about you're making you're making your female wrestlers wrestle with fake hair extensions or whatever. And it's like, whatever. Chavito went, Chavo Guerrero Jr., he went and got hair plugs. I think the balding buck, they call him bald buck. I don't know what the fuck his name is. I think he's going to get hair plugs too. Like it happens. People go and get hair extensions. I think Bray Wyatt has hair extensions as far as what his dreadlocks are. I'm pretty sure a lot of white people who have dreadlocks have hair extensions. You know, it is what it is. Okay, I don't have a problem with fucking hair extensions. I don't care. Okay, like to me, that's not something. Now, like again, people take ownership of the women's situation where you can't criticize them. You also can't compliment them. You can't say it's fine that Sasha Banks has blue hair, and other people are like, no, she should wrestle with her natural hair. They're forcing her to have extensions. It's like it's always about force. Like maybe you should ask people first if there was a choice or whatever. Again, it is an image business where they're selling a look. I know Carmella had some situations with she tried to dye her hair. She wanted to go back to being a brunette, and WWE was like, no, we're selling the blonde Carmella action figures and video game stuff. You have to be blonde because it has to be consistent. It's the same reason why they're not allowed to get tattoos without permission and all that shit. Even though they're supposed to be quote unquote independent contractors, you're all selling an image, and if you can affect the price of the various merchandise if you change your look and stuff like that without permission, without giving people a heads up. Because you make action figures and things like that obsolete, and they lose value, and they don't sell because you don't look like the person in the video game, or you don't look like the person that, and it has to be consistent, and it's also about what they think they can sell. And WWE has this obsession with blondes. So if that's anything that I would say that you want to corner Vince McMahon on them, it's like it's too many fucking small blondes. Like we don't need any more of those. Like we really don't need any more small blondes. But the hair thing is not something I really care about. Neither is the surgery. So along with the aesthetics of pro wrestling, you can't go without talking about steroids. Now, much like boob jobs and plastic surgery, a lot of people just say so-and-so gets pushed because he was on steroids. I've heard numerous people have this conversation about so-and-so only got pushed because he was on steroids, or you take steroids because if you don't get pushed. People see that the guy who takes steroids gets a reward, so it incentivizes other people to do so. And I say to that effect, there were so many people doing steroids in the 80s or 90s. How do you decide who got pushed because they were on steroids? How do you make that decision? You want to say Jim Hellwig, or AKA the Ultimate Warrior, got pushed because he was on steroids? Okay, you can make that argument, but explain why the Warlord, who was probably also on steroids, didn't get pushed. Why Hercules Hernandez, who was probably also on steroids, didn't get pushed. You can't just whittle things down to, well, you take steroids, you get pushed, because there was a bunch of people on steroids. What about the people who were taking steroids and they didn't look like it? Like Kurt Hennig and I was about to say Kurt Hennig and Mr. Perfect. That was stupid. Like Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart. Like Ric Flair. Ric Flair didn't look like the guy who was on steroids, but he probably was. Like it's easy when it's Hogan or when it's Luger. Not so easy when the person that's on steroids is fucking Shawn Michaels. Okay, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to be like, okay. And Shawn says, of course, he maintains to this day that he never took steroids. He probably took them by accident, which is the best he has come to admitting to taking steroids. But then you have other people who, of course, And then you have guys who take other kinds of things like HGH. Like Edge has gotten caught taking HGH. I think Rey Mysterio has as well. And yes, steroids has an effect on your brain. Like we can go back to the Chris Benoit stuff and the Eddie Guerrero stuff, but it's not near. And yes, it does increase your testosterone and makes you aggressive and those sorts of things. Yes, that is very true. It doesn't make your heart burst though. That's not gonna. It doesn't do that. That's a mixture of people taking pills and cocaine and painkillers and all that type of shit. That's really what was killing them. But I don't really care about people taking steroids. I don't care about people getting boob jobs. As long as you're not getting, like, Scott Steiner got to the point where he couldn't function, and that's what I'm gonna go back to it every time. Scott Steiner was so big that, or maybe it was injuries, but it was probably a mixture of both, where he was just so big he couldn't function. He could barely fucking move. Like, why would you ever want to be that big? I think Chris Masters was also in that situation. When Chris Masters got off the gas, he got a little bit better. By then, it was too late. Nobody cared. But there is a certain, when you so gassed up on steroids that you can't work. Warrior was like that. That's why his matches were so short. He would get blown up because he would run to the ring. He had no had no stamina because he was getting his look from, not from working out, but from injection and bodybuilding. It's a lot different. Look at John Cena for comparison. John Cena worked a half-hour match, barely sweats. It's fucking insane. And I've been paying attention to that shit for like 10 to 15 years. Cena will work long matches and barely be sweating. Like, he had incredible stamina. And that shit, and maybe because he didn't do a lot. But Cena also, he worked a lot of matches and he would barely be sweating. And you'd be like, how the hell, this guy must be a robot? And he had to be. If Cena was on steroids or something like that, I could take him like barely standing up, probably passing the fuck out. you know. But that's just kind of how it is. Like, wrestling is aesthetics. It's how it's part of your presentation is how you look. That's why some people wear lifts. And I remember Jericho was talking about wearing lifts, and he couldn't work in them, because Vince McMahon thought he was too short, so he made him wear lifts, and he looked like shit because he was wearing lifts. And I think this was his early part of his WWE career, which is why he ended up sitting on the sidelines for so long. Is because they tried to get him to work in lifts, and he couldn't do it. That might be, I hope I'm not misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it was Chris Jericho, and they wanted him to work in lifts. And I think Raven also worked in lifts because they said Raven had uneven legs. Like, one leg is shorter than the other, so he had to work with lifts in one of his boots. And you can look at it in ECW, you can always see like one of his boots was thicker than the other. And it was also a thing about Braun Strowman working in lifts, that in order to make him look like the monster among men, he would have to be bigger than Kane and all those guys, so he would have to wear lifts, and it would affect his work because he didn't. It's like working in high heels. That's basically what they are. They're high heels or platforms, and it does affect your work. And sometimes, like, I think they should just get rid of fucking lifts. Like, fuck it, if the guy, we're in the world now, man, where if the guy is short, he's just short. Like, once Daniel Bryan became the most over guy in the business, and he's like 5'7", fuck it, throw all the lifts in the world away. Just throw them away. Okay, you don't need them. you don't need them. Like, lifts are the worst because, again, the shit's dangerous. If it affect a guy's work, it's dangerous. He can hurt himself. He can hurt his opponent. I hate that type of shit. But I had no intention of even talking about lifts. But I was on the subject of aesthetics, and YouTube keeps showing me this video of Jim Ross talking about Todd Grisham being taller than the wrestler, so they would make him do the splits. Again, it's an image thing. That's what wrestling is all about. Vince is trying to put forth an image, and he would make Todd Grisham do the splits so that his body would come down and be either eye level or lower with the wrestlers. He didn't want these guys to look short. And you would hear Dave Meltzer talking about this as well. Like, when he told this big, huge lie that Baron Corbin was sent to the Super Bowl or whatever because he's 6'6" and Vince doesn't want to send short guys. And it's like, oh, Daniel Bryan also went. And it had nothing to do with maybe the fact that Baron Corbin played football, and that didn't affect him. He just like, oh well, we just want to show that the guys are big. It's like, then if you're going to send a big guy, why Baron Corbin of all people? And then you send him with Daniel Bryan, who is a fucking midget. Makes no sense. But everybody knows that, you shoot a big show from you kneel down and shoot him up to make him look bigger. We know the camera tricks. They'll do the camera tricks to help you. We know that Macho Man Randy Savage used to do his little spins, and he's doing them on the balls of his feet, so he make him look taller. We know these little tricks, and there's sometimes it's little tricks like that where somebody stands up on their tippy toes to look taller. Sometimes, a guy will, do something to try to cover up the fact that he's got missing teeth. Cody has an unnaturally straight smile. Like, look at Cody's smile and tell me that's some natural born shit. No, he got some dental work done, and most guys do. Jeff Hardy got his front teeth kicked out. His front teeth are not real. Neither are Jericho's. His teeth are also been knocked out. Sometimes not having front teeth adds to your character, like Benoit or Timothy Thatcher. Sometimes not having front teeth makes you like a fucking fool. You have to know your character and know the presentation of what you're doing. Chris Jericho would be ineffective as fuck if he was out there with his front teeth missing. He just would be. Like, it wouldn't work. So wrestling is about aesthetics. That's part of it. And people need to get over it. Get over talking about how big Natty's boobs are. And Natty does have like really big boobs. And she has gigantic milkers. Yeah, but get the fuck over it. Like, we know that they're probably not real. So what? Okay? You have to be an adult. You can't be a teenage boy and getting all super excited because somebody got boob jobs. Who the fuck cares? As long as it's not in the way. Like, if it affects their work, maybe we could talk about it if it affects their work. If it doesn't, I don't care. And ultimately, I think that's where we should be with all things. Does it affect how they work? And if the answer is yes, then we maybe need to talk about changing it. If not, then I'm not worried about it. So I know I suckered y'all in with this talking about it was going to be about Charlotte's boobs, and it was a little bit about Charlotte's boobs, but it's also about weight. It's also about hair. It's also about teeth. It's also about height. It's also about all of these different things. And to double back about height, I remember Triple H saying that if Xavier Woods was taller, they would make him the champion. Like, I don't know how fucking tall Xavier Woods is, but he's talking about how perfect Xavier Woods was. And the only problem is that he was too short. And I'm thinking, like, he's probably the same height Eddie Guerrero was, right? I know, like, again, once you make Daniel Bryan the champion or Rey Mysterio, you can't use height as an excuse anymore. But I remember that coming up, and that just popped into my head last minute because I'm about to wrap this up. But let me know what you guys think about the aesthetics of it. It's not just in WWE either, because I've seen a lot of people make fun of Evil, who is now the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. People are talking about he's fat. Okay, so it's not just WWE. It's not. Okay, it's not. So it's when you put people on TV, this is how folks react. They look, and it's a visual business, and you got to accept it. And anybody who wants to be an SJW and talk about body shaming, look, it's just how the business is. You're not going to change what people are interested in sexually or what they look for in their heroes. You're not going to change it. You're not going to be able to just make Superman fat and think that the world is going to change because you like fat. You think fat Superman would work. It's not going to work. People are not attracted to that. People don't care about that. People are not interested. People want their superheroes who like they cut out of stone. And yes, it is unrealistic body types. Yes, it is. So fucking what? Do your best. Okay? Same thing with, all the girls in the world is not going to be beach ready. We know that. Do your best. Okay, saying it's unrealistic is not an excuse to not do your best. And I'm not saying that uh, I'm the most cut motherfucker in the world, but I'm saying is if you're going to be on TV, at least do your best. Don't just be like, hey, I'm a TV star and I'm a fucking Rebel Wilson. Like, no, no, thank you. Get the fuck out of here with that. But anyway, let's wrap it up. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.